Welcome to Zephyr Yoga Inspiration. I offer these podcasts for free, and your support really does make a difference and is appreciated. To make a donation, please click the link in the episode description or visit zephyryoga.com. Welcome to this session on our last limb of the Ashtanga Yoga method, the Eightfold Path, called Samadhi. Samadhi being the eighth and final step on the path of practicing yoga, defined by Patanjali about at least 2,000 years ago, who created these Yoga Sutras, a very practical way in which we can use this blueprint to lead us towards this ultimate stage of the voyage of attaining the state of yoga. So some meaning in Sanskrit together, completely or towards, and D, put. So to put together, to complete, to put towards this unification, this union, this total integration. So this Samadhi has direct translations that vary from school to school, but ranging in absorption, bliss, maybe a total integration, this way in which is this experience of liberation, freedom, and also enlightenment, it's defined as. But through my personal experience, I've experienced a samadhi-like state, and words tend to limit the description of what it is. Maps can guide you to it, but when you arrive, you understand it on a deeper, more cellular level. And in this way, what I've experienced is this blissful form of total meditative absorption. It's kind of a state in which one's individual consciousness merges with the universal consciousness, and that you awaken to that consciousness, which is said to be the underlying layer of all creation, that you feel a part of it and it feels like a part of you. And there is no boundaries that creates that separateness. So the practitioner no longer is able to perceive the act of meditation or be defined by that separate sense of self from pure consciousness, where you lose all self-referencing points of me, mine, and I, and you become one because of that total integration. As the steps of the 8 limbs, as you practice the yamas and niyamas and asana and pranayama and pratyahara and dharana, leading you towards dhyana, meditation. And that next step is to go beyond the mind in that meditative absorption, where you can effortlessly abide in the self as the self. And this veil of ignorance dissolves and is lifted. One's ego, all desires, aversions, fears are dissolved in the light of it all, empty in its own form, it's said. So samadhi is the cessation of all experiences in every sense as we know it, a resting in the self as itself, abiding in the light of pure consciousness. And the goal of practicing yoga is the second Yoga Sutra, citta, vritti, nirodha, the stilling of the roaming tendencies of the mind, stilling of the mental fluctuations of the mind, stilling of the mind in which you go beyond the mind. And you as the yogi or the practitioner are fully conscious, undistracted, that there is this uninterrupted flow of awareness in which you are truly absorbed in that ultimate truth of grace itself as itself. Doesn't that sound amazing? It's like, I want to be there. That sounds like freedom and peace and serenity. That real deep sense of like, liberating from this mind noise and this separateness and this ups and downs of life, as we experience. To love is to hurt. To have is to lose. When we experience pleasure, we do know that pain's just around the corner. So Patanjali saw that living this life is filled with dukkha. literally pu, dukkha, no, suffering. So there is this real experience through the hands of being born, of aging, of change, of illness, disease, of death. There's going to be suffering. And so he was like, let's escape this meat tube of an experience and see if we can actually free ourselves, from this kind of grip of like, ugh, this horrible thing called being human is just filled with pain, yuck. So the point of the Yoga Sutras, as he's written it, is to refine the mind so we can have this evolutionary upgrade for the soul, which he calls Atman, and it to be liberated from rebirth. So Patanjali lays out this practice of the Eightfold Path to overcome the kleshas, these mental emotional afflictions that are built into our physical and mental nature. So avidya, our ignorance. Ashmita, our egotism of thinking more or less of who we actually are. Raga, this addictively craving for more pleasurable experiences, this attachment to better places than right here. Or this avoidance or this aversion, this sense of resistance to ever experiencing pain, dvesha. Or this abhinivesha, this fear of, what if I lose this? What if this changes? What if I die? And so that those kleshas, these mental emotional afflictions, affect our physical body, our energetic body, our mental body, and motivate our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions, and which creates our world, our reality, and distorts our reality from the truth of what is behind it, what we truly are. And so his idea is to disengage with the ongoing formation of these experiences, of our samskaras, which are our experiences, our impressions, our memories that are charged with emotions and karma, forming our personality as well as our destiny. So you are a sum total of every choice that you have ever made. That also your soul supposedly has acquired a lot of karma and it's chosen this lifetime to work through certain karma. And so it's being challenged to kind of find ways in which we can claim responsibility for this lifetime. Own what is motivating our thoughts, emotions, and actions, and be more accountable to the outcome, and actually understand where we are going and how to use certain tools and techniques and make certain more wise choices, positive choices that have an immediate effect on where you're going. So, this tradition believes in reincarnation, whether you do or don't believe into it, but it makes you understand why they are teaching certain things in certain ways. So it is said that they believe that your Atman, your soul, has chosen this lifetime to work through certain karma. And you are in the midst of your soul celebrating what it's going through. It welcomes it in because as it gains more information, the idea is that when you die, your body will disengage with your soul at death. Your subtle body will disengage at rebirth as your causal body chooses a new host and goes through each lifetime, working through its karma in the hopes it will really get to evolve in seeking its true desire to be fully liberated, which is called kaivalya. And this is said in the text of the ultimate goal and purpose of the Eightfold Path is to free and liberate the soul from the body. And I know that sounds very opposite to the yoga we've been told. Yoga means union and this intimate relationship. But why are we trying to separate from this mortal coil and perceive the body as this kind of dualistic, like, yuck, that part's gross, this part is better. We need to just, bathe in pure consciousness. Let go of that stinky meat tube of a experience. Yuck. But it suggests that the practice in thought and action is to lead us towards true freedom from being reborn. And so the soul gets that total karmic experience of every karma, every lifetime, every experience where it's learned and has found a resolve as well as a sense of, refinement, that it's ready to fully disengage with all humanity, all manifest form, and abide as pure consciousness. So the idea of practicing yoga is to enable us to go beyond the mind. So this is why we start at the first limb, the yamas, of, non-violence, of truthfulness, of non-stealing, of boundaries, and of non-possessiveness, making us accountable so we can live in this world and have these virtues and adhere to them. Then we work on cleanliness, we work on contentment, practices that create heat for positive change. We then self-study and understand ourselves even more, gaining more self-knowledge in that ability then to let go and surrender to the Godhead of our understanding. So working the first two limbs, the yamas and niyamas, help weaken the influence of the kleshas. And then we're able to refine our actions and our karma means actions, our choices, our karma, by practicing the tools of asana, posture, pranayama, breathing techniques, pratyahara, withdrawing the senses inwards and turning inwards as a solution to the problem or the issue of being human. And then dharana, focus our attention, training that mind puppy to sit and stay. And then that meditative awareness as we get so used to training the mind to sit and stay, focusing on the breath, sensation, light, the sound of a mantra, the meaning of the mantra, that we open up to a greater meaning of what it arises, waking up to that awareness, and then that lights our awareness, that we abide in the timelessness of now, leading us to that samadhi state, that total integration, that total absorption, physical, energetic, mental, of consciousness absorbed with this human experience, awakening as that oneness, wholeness, completeness. So it really is this kind of devotion to abhyasa, this focused, diligent practice in the ability to surrender whatever sensory observations, this vairagya, detaching with love from what our sensory perception picks up. Our mind puppy likes to chase its tail, or chew on a bone, or run around and, not pay attention. It's just that our mind puppy can sit and stay. And that as we practice letting go of whatever's trying to distract the puppy, and then train the mind puppy to sit and stay, we refine our keen discernment, our wise judgment in being able to recognize the mind and capture the mind's eye attention and turn it upon itself. As you look through your eyes, notice the outer perimeter of the eyes, the lens in which you are perceiving, and notice that I-ness that is seen. And now turn that awareness to see yourself, the I-ness seeking to experience you. And so this actually comes from the Bhagavad Gita, because I think this whole thing with the Yoga Sutras is suitable, but most of us live in this real world. And so by renunciating and by practicing in such way to try to liberate ourselves, it's not really practical. So having more practical tools to be able to kind of really skillfully do this lifetime, whether I get liberated or enlightened or not, it doesn't matter. But I like the definition of the Bhagavad Gita, which came slightly before the Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, and it draws in its influence. But yoga, defined by the Gita, says that yoga is skill in action with loving awareness. Yoga is skill in action, karma, the karmic choices that we make, and it's a practice. In that way, we connect to this loving awareness that remains open, curious, and willing to go, what is it like to be me? What are we dealing with today? What tools do I need to refine? And so we use asana, pranayama, like ujjayi pranayama. We do pratyahara. We turn inwards to discover the inner landscape of our experience. Where do we feel our stuff, physically, energetically, and mentally? And when we acknowledge and recognize, we allow greater room for our humanity. And in this loving awareness, we turn our attention to focus on one thing at a time. This kind of way in which we're going to continue point-to-point breathing. Inhale from the crown of the head to pelvic floor to crown. We're going to weave together so, hum, again, the meaning, I am that, and use those techniques to refine the mind to sit and stay, good mind puppy, and to be fascinated on turning into this moment, letting go of the noise and the stories and the commentary and everything that tries to pull us out of practice, that letting go. And we'll create mudras, these sealing experiences where we seal in that light of consciousness in the stillness of this illuminated emptiness or fullness, depending on what you experience. We do these kriya practices where we cleanse and rinse and release anything that is contaminating the lens over our body, our energy, and our mind, in which we are able to be more meditatively present. And that leads us towards that samadhi, that total integration, that absorption where we can rest in this blissful state of just the timelessness of now, complete. This yoga, this union of consciousness, recognizing itself as that light of loving awareness. And so, there is this lovely way in which we become more intimate with our practice. Samadhi being totally absorbed in the here and now, letting go of the day you've had, letting go of the rest of the day you're going to live. Be here now, totally present and absorbed with every movement, every breath, every transition. Keep reinforcing this practice of showing up and being here now. So what we're going to do in this practice is we're going to use the point-to-point breathing, so hum, but we're going to add om. We're going to chant om. Om is said to be that primordial sound of the cosmic universe in manifestation. It is that sonic representation of all creation as the sound. So if you collect all sound, it sounds like om. And so when we chant it, it is that opening to that vibrational resonance, as we were experiencing in last session, is that physical essence of consciousness manifested is the subtle essence of spanda, this pulse that you'll feel. And then prakasha, this vibration that you'll sense, this emanating vibration from the center in all directions. And then vimarsha, that I-ness of consciousness, delighting to perceive through your experience, going, wow, this is so cool. And learning as much as you can, your soul kind of going, oh, and downloading it in deep contemplation, meditation, and samadhi states. So your soul can get this evolutionary upgrade in the time in which you pass. You go look back and go, I have had a very fulfilling life. I felt very satisfied in everything I experienced and how I conducted myself. And I am at resolve, peace, and serenity in which I am ready, as I've practiced throughout my life, learning the art of surrendering, of letting go, so I can help this lifetime really embrace this next let go in which I can disengage and hopefully get that evolutionary upgrade so I don't have to be reborn again and deal with the whole thing of, the cycle of suffering, the samsara in which we are reborn into. So the point being is that through our practice, we're going to take a lot of what we've been practicing the past few sessions and integrate the Kapalabhati Kriya, the exhale pattern, the pause after exhale pattern with Uddiyana Mula Bandha, and creating that mudra in which we seal that stillness in, and then close our eyes and really feel the byproduct of our effort in which we are able to effortlessly abide in that blissful meditative absorption of samadhi and where it's pointing us to. So eventually we can go beyond the mind and really bathe in that true nature of who and what we are. And that light's our true nature. So the recognizing our prakriti, and then Purusha, lighting that true nature of prakriti. If you would like to continue to practice, find out more information about the topics discussed, or to donate to this podcast, please visit zephyryoga.com or follow the link in the episode description. I thank you.